Mentally, probably, that can certainly take place. We would like to think we can avoid any thought that the result looks after itself without the effort. So our process this week has been, like in every other game, let me just say like every other game, is about the process of making sure that what we do well. And when you do that, you're not looking at the W at the end of it. And we this year have been 5-4, so it's not as if we've won all the games. We've lost games, and we've lost games because at some stage during them we have given the opposition an opportunity to get into the game. And on a few of those occasions they've taken that, and they've been good football sides, and they've taken the initiative and grabbed it, and we can't get back in it. So we're very aware and quite comfortable in this room pre-training that we know what we have to do, and we have played them once this year already. Albeit it was a half game type affair, and we won it virtually with the last kick. Oh, you'd like to have that every time. No, it's not a no mercy in terms of where they are. It's a matter of just getting it right. There's going to be enough pressure on players this game to. We've played some good football, but we haven't played in what I would call great football. We've played some. Players have been up for some good games, and they've had some, I was going to say down games, but they haven't reached the standards that we would like from time to time. So, pardon me. So, under those circumstances, every player, it's not a matter of being on notice. Every player has got a role to play. So we take away from the thought process of who it's against, where it's at. We look at what we have to do to be a good football side, regardless. Our preparation this week is going to be no different, and is no different than what it's going to be next week against Essendon. And that's singularly the hardest thing to do as a coach, and perhaps as hard as a player. So that's why it's such a great mental test to be ready to play the best possible football. I know this group that went out last week against Brisbane, there are 4 or 5 players that weren't great and below their standards. They know. So what do you reckon their mindset's going to be like? And that to me is really important, that they know that 2 weeks like that just doesn't equate to us being a good football side and going forward. Well, I think I'm not in the league's position here. They have stated they don't like big blowouts, but we've seen that happen throughout this year, and we've seen it last year and the year before. There are young sides being picked with a view of quality and a view of that if they stay together long enough, they're going to be a good football side. We have to look at the way that Guy McKenna's been able to coach Gold Coast and how they've come along. And I think that what happens in the first year, they're an unknown quantity. The second year, people work out that there's some really important players that actually get them going, and those players come under a lot more scrutiny. Coaches don't sit back and just take it for granted. They look at it and go, okay, if that's the reason why they're a good side last year, how can we stop them being a good side this year? So they're under more pressure this year, but they're a good football side, well coached, very enthusiastic, and all the bits and pieces that you'd expect of a first grade pick players. Absolutely we did, absolutely. They were fantastic. It was only into the third quarter where Essendon got on top of them. No, yes, we did. We looked at that game with a great deal of interest. Well, we've made subtle changes to that right throughout, because it's as much a learning curve for me as it is for them. I've got to learn what they can do and feel comfortable about, and what they can't do and don't feel comfortable about. Now, sometimes you're not going to be comfortable on a football field. But if you are comfortable, and we're now starting to play a game of football around the mechanics that we want to introduce, this is not a one-way ticket. This is everyone in the group and the coaches learning about one another. So we are coming together at round 10 with a few wins under our belt, but none of them have been really massively great wins. I would say that they've been hard-fought wins, and we've gone to sleep a couple of times and the opposition have taken control. Most important thing is we've wrestled the lead back, or wrestled that period of their dominance back. And I think that's significant. So I think we've learned a little bit from that. No, well, we've spoken about that. I spoke to both boys about that, both Casbolt and Sean Hampson, and said this week that I'd give one or the other a game. And it was really a matter of Levi has played some pretty good football in the seconds in the last couple of weeks, so give him an opportunity. And Sean was the last one to play, so therefore I think when you're a side where we are, you need to keep changing the side up so that the gap between first and seconds is quite enormous, the way I see it. So if you constantly play it at VFL level, you tend to miss the intensity of senior football. So it wasn't a flip of the coin, it was more the case that Levi hasn't played for a number of weeks at this level, and Sean has. I could have been quite comfortable playing both, or playing one or the other. And it was only simply done on the fact that Levi hasn't played AFL football for less weeks than Sean. Oh yeah, we want them both to step up. We want to have the capability of going into a game like this and really stretching the opposition, really stretching it, and going forward stretching it. I personally believe there's a dearth of numbers, not quality of backline players, but numbers of backline players. And if you play a side that is not equipped, then we will certainly be going in there to exploit. And we want players. The only way you can exploit is you've got form players. So of course it is. It's our goal is to get good form talls into our forward line and really strip it off the opposition. In terms of, okay, the third one may fall out against a 6'2" bloke. So our goal is very simple, is to get good form players into that forward line. Oh, you look at Gold King every week. The moon is in the wane, so therefore I suppose it's now we can just address those issues as they come along. Yeah, he's a very important quality player. Plays at both ends, and that's so important to us. I'd be surprised it gets used too often, but I think the torpedo to me is a kick that is. How would I put this one? It's the mechanics to get your drop punch right. And that might sound strange. Now, I might be just jumping at anything here, but I remember Simon Beasley when I was at Footscray many, many years ago, who really had lost his way with his drop punts. And a torpedo, you can't swing from side to side. It forces you to actually put the ball in that capacity without giving you too much of a lesson. And we got him kicking torpedoes at training to improve his drop punts. And that's simply, again, just to get more distance with your drop punts, because the moment you're swinging around, you're just losing that accuracy. Backline players can't afford to lose that ball.
So we won't see many on the weekend?
Oh, you might see, well, I'd be surprised to see more than one or two, at best.
Is Carlton going to be aiming to play next week?
That's his aim.
And just with that, it was a slight strain we're led to believe. Has he had a couple of setbacks along the way, obviously?
Well, he clearly would have had a setback for a slight strain.